Ferrari may have just lost the one innovation that was holding their entire season together. And the reaction inside the team is reportedly pure chaos. Because this was not some normal upgrade. This was Ferrari's secret weapon. The same system rivals rushed to copy. The same loophole the FIA suddenly wants erased from Formula One. And according to reports, if Ferrari loses it completely, the SF26 could instantly become almost half a second slower per lap. Half a second. That is the difference between fighting for pole position and getting swallowed by the midfield. But this gets even worse. Because the FIA is not targeting just one Ferrari innovation. They are coming after two. The controversial halo wing that shocked the paddock in China. And the blown exhaust system that transformed Ferrari's aerodynamic performance after Miami. And now, behind closed doors, tension inside Ferrari is reportedly exploding. Because Lewis Hamilton trusted the system enough to race with it. Charles Leclerc did not. That split alone has already sent shockwaves through the paddock. And Fred Vasseur is reportedly furious, because Ferrari believes they are being punished for doing the one thing Formula One has always rewarded. Finding the loophole before everyone else. But here is the part that could change the entire championship fight. Ferrari is already believed to be down as much as 30 horsepower compared to Mercedes. So if the FIA removes the innovations compensating for that weakness, the entire SF26 project could collapse much faster than anyone expected. And what happens next in Canada may decide not only Ferrari's season, but the future direction of Formula One itself. For Ferrari, this was supposed to be the moment the entire season changed. Not survival. Not damage control. A real comeback. After months of pressure, criticism, and constant questions about whether the SF26 was actually capable of fighting at the front, Ferrari finally started seeing signs of progress. And not small progress. Real progress. The Miami package worked better than expected. Straight-line speed improved dramatically. The car looked calmer in fast corners. Tire management became more stable. And suddenly, people inside the paddock started whispering something Ferrari fans had been waiting to hear all year. Ferrari might finally have a dangerous car again. But then the FIA started paying attention. And one tiny piece of carbon fiber changed the atmosphere completely. The halo wing. At first glance it looks harmless. Almost invisible. Just a small aerodynamic detail attached to the center pillar above the cockpit. Most fans watching at home never even noticed it. Formula One engineers noticed immediately. Because they understood what Ferrari was really doing. The new 2026 Halo regulations introduced a thinner central pillar. Ferrari realized the wording of the rules allowed teams to attach a fairing to that structure. And Ferrari did what great Formula One teams always do. They pushed the rule further than everyone else dared. Instead of treating the fairing like a simple protective cover, Ferrari transformed it into an aerodynamic tool. Tiny winglets redirected airflow toward the rear wing while reducing turbulence around the cockpit area. That sounds small. But Formula One is a sport where tiny airflow changes create massive consequences. Think about an airplane wing. A slight change in angle can completely alter how the aircraft behaves at high speed. Ferrari was manipulating the same principle on a much smaller scale. And according to reports, the gains were real. Not massive on paper. Just a few hundredths of a second. But in modern Formula One, a few hundredths can decide entire race weekends. Especially in qualifying. Especially in Canada. And this is exactly why rival teams became nervous so quickly. Because the moment Ferrari introduced the system in China, engineers across the paddock reportedly started studying it immediately. That is one of the clearest signs an innovation actually matters in Formula One. Teams do not panic over useless ideas. But this is where the situation became explosive. During the Chinese Grand Prix, Ferrari reportedly entered discussions with the FIA over concerns that the original version may have crossed the line legally. Sources described the design as borderline. That single word changed everything. Borderline means the FIA is warning you without publicly attacking you yet. And Ferrari understood the message instantly. So before the FIA could escalate further, Ferrari voluntarily removed the original design. Then engineers rushed to redesign the concept with softer shapes and less aggressive aerodynamic surfaces. The goal was simple. Keep the performance, reduce the political heat. And then came Miami. The race weekend that exposed something nobody expected. Lewis Hamilton used the updated halo wing. Charles Leclerc did not. That detail shocked people inside the paddock. Because when two elite drivers inside the same team disagree on using a performance upgrade, it usually means uncertainty exists somewhere behind the scenes. Either the gain was not fully convincing, or the FIA pressure had already become serious enough to create internal hesitation. And honestly, that second possibility is what terrified Ferrari the most, because Formula One teams can survive technical problems. Political pressure is much harder to control, especially when the governing body starts looking at your innovations more aggressively than everyone else's. And now, reports suggest the FIA wants halo-mounted aerodynamic devices removed entirely in the future regulation cycle over concerns about visibility and safety. But inside Ferrari, many believe this story was never only about safety, because the halo wing was just the beginning. The real nightmare for Ferrari was never the halo wing alone. It was what the halo wing revealed. Because once the FIA started questioning one Ferrari innovation, attention inside the paddock immediately shifted toward another system that may be even more important: the blown exhaust. And according to reports coming out of the Miami weekend, this is the innovation truly terrifying Ferrari right now. Because unlike the halo wing, the blown exhaust is deeply connected to almost everything the SF26 does well: aerodynamic balance, rear stability, traction, tire management, straight line efficiency. The entire car works around it. And that is exactly why some reports claim Ferrari could lose almost half a second per lap if the FIA eventually removes the concept completely. Half a second in Formula One is enormous. It is the kind of number engineers usually find over several years of development, not from a single regulation change. Imagine training for months with custom-made running shoes designed perfectly for your body, and then being forced to race barefoot while everyone else keeps their shoes. That is basically the fear inside Ferrari right now. Because Ferrari did not just copy this idea, they invented it. That part matters more than most fans realize. When rival teams copied the concept after Miami, many people assumed Ferrari's advantage would disappear naturally over time. But insiders believe Ferrari still has the most advanced and most integrated version on the grid. And integration is everything in modern Formula One. The SF26 was designed around this philosophy from the beginning. Airflow structures, setup balance, rear-end behavior, even how the car manages tire temperatures under acceleration. Everything connects, which means removing the blown exhaust would not simply reduce speed. It could destabilize the entire personality of the car. And suddenly, the pressure inside Ferrari becomes much easier to understand. Because while the FIA discussions continue, Ferrari is already dealing with another massive weakness that nobody inside Maranello can fully hide anymore: the engine deficit. According to multiple reports, Ferrari may still be trailing Mercedes by somewhere between 21 and 30 horsepower. That is devastating, especially at a track like Montreal. Canada punishes weak straight line speed brutally. Long acceleration zones, heavy braking areas, full throttle sections where raw power matters constantly. So Ferrari built aerodynamic efficiency to compensate. That was the plan. And now the FIA is targeting the exact systems helping Ferrari survive that disadvantage. That is why Fred Vasseur is reportedly furious behind closed doors. Because from Ferrari's perspective, the team followed the regulations exactly as written. They identified a loophole before everyone else. They invested resources earlier than anyone else. They accepted the risk first. Then rivals copied the concepts. And only after the copying started, the political pressure exploded. Inside Formula One, that sequence changes everything emotionally. Teams can accept losing fairly. What they hate is feeling punished for being smarter first. And here is where the story becomes even more politically dangerous. Banning the blown exhaust during the current season is reportedly much harder than many people realize. Multiple teams already use similar concepts themselves. Mercedes benefits from it. McLaren benefits from it. Red Bull explored versions of it. Williams, Alpine, Cadillac. Suddenly the grid faces a contradiction nobody wants to admit publicly. Everyone complains about the system, but almost nobody wants to lose it. And that creates a political war happening quietly behind closed doors. Because if the FIA pushes too aggressively, they risk angering half the paddock. But if they do nothing, Ferrari's rivals fear Maranello may continue building an advantage around concepts they discovered first. And while all this political tension grows, another crisis is quietly damaging Ferrari from the inside: the simulator problem. Reports suggest Ferrari still struggles with correlation between simulator predictions and real-world track performance. That may sound technical. It is actually terrifying, because it means Ferrari engineers cannot fully trust whether upgrades will behave correctly once the car reaches the circuit. Imagine trying to solve a puzzle while someone keeps changing the shape of the pieces every few minutes. That is basically Ferrari's development process right now. And suddenly, every decision becomes more dangerous. Do you continue investing in innovations the FIA may ban? Do you redesign parts of the car early? Do you wait for clearer political direction? Every path carries risk. And with Canada approaching fast, Ferrari is running out of time to choose correctly. Canada was supposed to give Ferrari answers. Instead, it may expose how fragile the entire project really is. Because behind all the innovation, all the political tension, and all the FIA pressure, there is one reality Ferrari cannot escape anymore. The SF26 still might not be fast enough. That is the part nobody inside Maranello wants to say publicly. Even with the blown exhaust, even with the halo wing, even with the Miami upgrades, reports still describe Ferrari as somewhere between the third and fourth fastest overall package on the grid. Fast enough for podiums. Fast enough for occasional pole positions. But maybe not fast enough to win a championship against a fully optimized Mercedes or McLaren. And that creates enormous internal pressure. Because Ferrari is no longer fighting only against rival teams. They are fighting time. Every race weekend now feels like an evaluation of the entire project. Every FIA discussion creates more uncertainty. Every rumor inside the paddock affects development priorities. And this is where the emotional side of Formula One starts becoming impossible to ignore. Because engineers are human. Drivers are human. Team principals are human. When uncertainty enters a Formula One garage, confidence disappears quickly. And confidence changes everything. A driver brakes later when he trusts the car completely. Engineers take bigger setup risks when they trust the data completely. Teams develop more aggressively when they trust the future direction of the regulations completely. Ferrari currently has none of that stability. Instead, they are operating inside constant tension. One part of the factory wants to keep pushing aggressively. Another part knows the FIA may shut down key concepts anyway. One group believes the blown exhaust remains the future. Another fears Ferrari is investing millions into ideas already politically doomed. That kind of internal division quietly slows teams down. And Formula One punishes hesitation brutally, especially when rivals smell weakness. And rivals absolutely smell weakness right now. Because while Ferrari fights political battles, Mercedes continues building around raw engine strength. McLaren keeps improving consistency. Red Bull remains dangerous whenever race conditions become chaotic. Meanwhile, Ferrari keeps waking up to new questions every week. Will the FIA intervene further? Will more technical directives appear? Will Canada trigger another controversy? Will the engine deficit finally qualify for regulatory assistance after the ADUO review? That last point could become the most important storyline of all. Because according to reports, Ferrari is hoping the FIA confirms their power unit deficit exceeds the threshold needed to allow development changes outside the normal restrictions. If that happens after Canada, Ferrari could finally introduce major engine improvements later in the season. And suddenly the entire championship picture changes again. That possibility is the one thing keeping hope alive inside Maranello. Because Ferrari knows something very important. Aerodynamic innovations can be copied. Political pressure can slow development. But horsepower changes everything in Formula One, especially at tracks where acceleration dominates lap time. And this is why Canada now feels much bigger than a normal Grand Prix. It is becoming a political test, a technical test, an emotional test, maybe even a survival test for the entire SF26 philosophy. Because if Ferrari performs strongly despite all the FIA pressure, the team proves the car still has real underlying pace. But if performance suddenly drops, the paddock will immediately start asking the question Ferrari desperately wants to avoid. How much of their speed came from innovations the FIA no longer wants in Formula One? And honestly, that question terrifies Ferrari more than any rival car on the grid. Because once doubt enters Formula One, it spreads fast. Drivers start questioning setups. Engineers start questioning concepts. Management starts questioning strategy. And fans start questioning the future. That is the atmosphere Ferrari arrives with in Canada. Not confidence, not stability, pressure, political pressure, technical pressure, championship pressure. And maybe the biggest irony of all is this. Ferrari finally became aggressive enough to scare the paddock again. And that may be exactly why the paddock is now trying to stop them.